Hey there, CJ Math students. So today we're going to go over this crazy diagram called transversals and try and pick up on the pattern that develops from this diagram. So we got a ton of vocab, and the vocab is going to be super important in trying to help you find the answer. So just to start, a transversal is a line that intersects or crosses two or more other lines at one point. And it's also important to note that these lines are parallel lines, okay? So for instance, this right here, line M, is the transversal to line L and line K. So this is our diagram. So within this diagram, we have multiple kind of relationships that are equal. So the first type of relationship is corresponding angles. When a transversal crosses two lines, corresponding angles are in the same position at each intersection. Easy way to say this is they're on the same side and they just skip an angle. So for instance, angles 1 and angles 5 are corresponding. So angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding. What does this mean? That means they are equal. Okay, so if I told you that was 105 degrees, this would be 105 degrees. Other corresponding angles are angles 3 and angle 7, same side, and they just skip an angle. So angles 3 and angle 7. So if I told you angle 3 was 30 degrees, then angle 7 would also be 30 degrees. Other corresponding angles are angles 2 and same side, skip 4 and 6. So angles 2 and 6. So if I told you angle 2 was 50 degrees, angle 6 would be 50 degrees. And lastly, the last little pair that is corresponding are angles 4 and angle 8. Right? I also want you to notice something real quick about these kind of angles and their setup, is that every little clump of 4 angles gives you 360 degrees. Right, so 360 degrees here, and then another 360 degrees right down here. This is important because we're going to have a lot of supplementary relationships. So like 1 and 2 would be supplementary, or 2 and 4 would be supplementary. Why? Because they're lying on these straight lines, right? Also going to have a lot of vertical relationships, like 1 and 4 would be vertical, 2 and 3 would be vertical, 5 and 8 would be vertical, 6 and 7 would be vertical. Right? So important to keep the vocab terms that we've already learned in mind when doing these as well. Alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles are inside or on the interior of the two parallel lines. Parallel lines mean they never touch, so those two lines, and are on the opposite side of the transversal. Okay, so there are two sets of alternate interior angles. Angle 3 and angle 6, angle 3 and angle 6. So if I told you angle 3 was, say, 45 degrees, that means angle 6 would also be 45 degrees. And then angle 4 and angle 5. Angle 4 and angle 5. So if I told you 4 was, let's say, 110 degrees, then 5 would be 110 degrees. Right? The next vocab word are alternate exterior angles. They are on the outside of the parallel lines, or on the exterior of the transversal, and are on opposite sides of the transversal. So again, on the outside of the parallel line. So in this case, this was the inside, right? So this is why those were interior, right? On the inside. On this case, here we want the outside, so all this space right here on the outside, right? So the alternate exterior angles would be 1 and 8, so outside, both outside the parallel lines and on opposite sides of this transversal, 1 and 8. So if I told you that was 130 degrees, this would be 130 degrees. And then 2 and 7, angle 2 and angle 7. Right? So I want you to see if you can pick up a pattern here now If I tell you one degree, you should be able to get the rest.